The lecture hall buzzed with the soft hum of translation devices. Students from 20 different species sat in rows, their attention focused on the massive screen at the front. Professor Kale, a draconid with dark purple scales and golden eyes, paced before them. His tail swept behind him like a weapon, and his voice carried the weight of someone who had never been questioned. "Galactic warfare has always belonged to the strong," Kale said, his clawed hand gesturing at the holographic display. "The Draconid Empire, the Thorian Collective, the Vrex Union. These are the powers that shaped our galaxy. These are the species that matter." Hyun sat in the middle row, taking notes on his tablet. He was 22, slim, with dark hair and quiet eyes that missed nothing. Around him, students nodded along with the professor's words. Some looked bored, others looked afraid. Hyun just listened. "And then we have the newcomers," Kyle continued, his tone shifting to something almost amused. "Species like humanity. 70 years in galactic space, and what have they contributed? No great fleets, no warrior tradition. They build things, yes, but in the grand scope of galactic power, they are irrelevant." A few students laughed. Hyun's pen stopped moving. "Humans are prey animals playing at civilization," a voice boomed from the back. Velcros, a massive Draconid student, stood up. He was nearly 7 feet tall, covered in red scales, with arms thick as tree trunks. "My father fought in the border wars. He said humans run at the first sign of real danger. They hide behind their diplomats and beg stronger species to protect them." More laughter rippled through the room. Hyun felt eyes turning toward him. He was one of only 3 humans in the class. "Velcros makes a valid point," Professor Kyle said, not bothering to hide his smile. "Humanity's survival is largely due to the tolerance of established powers. They exist because we allow it." Hyun raised his hand. The room went quiet. Professor Kyle's golden eyes narrowed. "Yes?" "I have a question," Hyun said, his voice calm and steady. "If humans are so weak and irrelevant, why does the Draconid Empire maintain 12 military listening posts along human trade routes? Why does your government file formal complaints every time human engineers develop new engine technology?" Velcros snarled. "How dare you?" "I'm asking the professor," Hyun interrupted, still calm. "If we're prey animals, why do you watch us so closely?" Professor Kale's scales darkened slightly, a sign of irritation. "We monitor all species. It's standard protocol." "You monitor threats," Hyun said, "or competitors." Velcro slammed his desk, the metal denting under his fist. "You think you're clever, human? You think your words make you strong?" He stepped into the aisle, muscles rippling under his scales. "I challenge you. Right here, right now. Let's see how brave you are when facing a real warrior." "Velcros, sit down," Professor Kale said, but his tone lacked conviction. He seemed curious about what would happen next. Hyun stood up slowly. He was barely 6 feet tall, slim compared to Velcros's massive frame. Every rational part of his mind screamed at him to apologize, to sit down, to let it go. But something else burned hotter than fear. "I accept," Hyun said, "but not here. The Academy has combat simulation arenas. We'll settle this properly. Tomorrow, after classes." Velcros laughed, a deep sound that shook the air. "A simulation? You want to play warrior in a safe little game?" "Unless you're afraid of losing," Hyun said quietly. The room erupted. Students from every species began talking at once. Velcros's face darkened with rage. Professor Kale held up a hand and silence fell again. "This is highly irregular," Kale said, but Hyun could see the interest in his eyes. "Combat simulations are supervised events. They require—" "I'll handle the paperwork," Hyun said. "Standard Academy protocols, survival scenario, randomized terrain, simulation weapons, unless Velcros wants to back out." Velcros stepped closer, looming over Hyun. His breath was hot and smelled like sulfur. "I will crush you, human. I will show everyone what your species really is. Weak, pathetic, prey." "Tomorrow," Hyun repeated. "Simulation Arena 3, 1800 hours." "Agreed," Velcros growled. He leaned even closer, his voice dropping to a whisper only Hyun could hear. "I will make you beg for mercy. And when this is over, every human in this academy will know their place." Hyun met his gaze without flinching. "We'll see." After class, Hyun walked through the station corridors alone. His hands were shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. What had he done? Velcros wasn't just bigger and stronger. He was trained in Draconid combat from childhood. He was born to fight. Hyun's communication device buzzed. A message from his cousin Yuna appeared on the screen. She was doing research 3 stations away, studying military history. She must have heard already. News traveled fast in Academy networks. The message was short. "Don't you dare fight him alone. I'm coming. Stall if you can." But Hyun couldn't stall. The challenge was public now. Half the station had probably heard about it. If he backed out, every human in galactic space would be seen as cowards. He had started something he couldn't stop. He just hoped he could survive it. By evening, the entire academy knew about the challenge. Students whispered in hallways. Bets were being placed. Hyun tried to study but couldn't focus. Tomorrow, he would face a creature designed by evolution and training to kill. All he had was his brain and his refusal to quit. It would have to be enough. The simulation arena was packed. Students filled the observation decks in waves of different colors and shapes. Insectoid creche hung from the ceiling supports. Aquatic delphians watched from fluid-filled viewing tanks. Furry kethans crowded the front rows, their 6 eyes gleaming with anticipation. Everyone wanted to see the human get destroyed. Hyun stood in the preparation room, checking his equipment. The simulation would provide standardized weapons and armor, nothing fancy. A basic energy rifle, a sidearm, light combat armor, and a knife. Across the arena floor, in another prep room, Velcros would have the same equipment. The simulation randomly generated terrain to keep fights unpredictable. The door opened. Hyun expected a referee or official. Instead, 3 Draconids entered. They wore formal military sashes, marks of high rank. The leader, an older female with silver-tipped scales, looked him up and down with cold eyes. "Human," she said, "I am Commander Threxus of the Draconid Defense Fleet. We are here to witness Velcros' victory. We are also here to offer you a way out." "I'm not backing down," Hyun said. "Foolish," Threxus said, "but expected. Prey species often don't recognize predators until it's too late. Here is what will happen. You will enter that arena. Velcros will defeat you in under 5 minutes. You will be humiliated, but you will survive. The simulation has safety protocols. Do you understand?" "I understand you're trying to scare me," Hyun said. Threxus's eyes narrowed. "After your defeat, you will publicly apologize to Professor Kale and acknowledge humanity's inferior position. This will be broadcast across the academy. It will serve as a lesson to other humans who forget their place." "And if I refuse?" Hyun asked. "Then challenges will continue," Threxus said softly. "Velcros has many friends. Your fellow humans at this academy will face challenge after challenge until they all leave or submit. This is not a threat. This is simply how natural hierarchies work." Hyun felt anger burning in his chest, but he kept his voice level. "Then I guess I better win." Threxus laughed, a sharp barking sound. The other Draconids joined her. They left still laughing, as if Hyun had told the funniest joke in the galaxy. The announcement system crackled. "Combatants enter the arena." Hyun took a deep breath and walked through the gate. The arena floor shifted under his feet. Hard light holograms materialized around him, creating terrain. Within seconds, he stood in a simulated jungle. Dense vegetation, rocky outcrops, a small stream cutting through the center. The air felt humid despite being a projection. The simulation was incredibly realistic. Across the arena, Velcros emerged from the opposite gate. He wore full ceremonial Draconid battle armor over his simulation gear, polished and gleaming. He carried his standard weapons, but he'd added decorative blades to his belt and a long spear strapped to his back. He was making this a show. The referee's voice echoed through the space. Standard survival scenario. Last combatant standing wins. Simulation damage only. Safety protocols active. Combat begins in 10 seconds. Velcros roared, the sound amplified by his armor's speakers. The crowd roared back. They were hungry for blood, even simulated blood. Hyun did something unexpected. He ran away. Not in panic, not scrambling. He ran tactically, moving into the dense vegetation, using trees for cover. He heard Velcros laugh, heard the crowd jeer. They thought he was already beaten. Good. Let them think that. Velcros charged after him, crashing through the jungle like a tank. Hyun could hear him clearly. Draconids were ambush predators by evolution, but Velcros was so confident he wasn't even trying to be quiet. He wanted Hyun to hear him coming. He wanted the fear. Hyun climbed a rocky outcrop and lay flat behind a boulder. He controlled his breathing, slowed his heartbeat. He'd learned meditation techniques for engineering stress. Now he used them to become still, to think clearly. Velcros crashed into the clearing below. He looked around, confused. "Where are you, little prey?" "Come out and face me like a warrior." Hyun raised his rifle and fired 3 quick shots. All 3 hit Velcros's shoulder joint, where armor plates met. The simulation registered damage. Velcros roared in pain and rage, spinning toward the source. But Hyun was already moving, sliding down the back of the outcrop, disappearing into new cover. For the next 20 minutes, Hyun ran, hid, and struck from unexpected angles. He never stood and fought. He never gave Velcros the battle he wanted. Every engagement was 3 or 4 shots, then retreat. Velcros was stronger, faster, more durable. But Hyun was making the arena his weapon. He lured Velcros across the stream, then circled back. He led him into dense vegetation that tangled his armor. He used the terrain to negate every advantage Velcros had. The Draconid was getting frustrated. Sloppy. He charged blindly. He wasted energy. At minute 35, Hyun set his first real trap. He collapsed a simulated dead tree across a narrow path, then fired shots to draw Velcros forward. The Draconid jumped the obstacle easily, but that moment in the air made him vulnerable. Hyun's shots hit his exposed back armor, registering significant damage. Velcros was breathing hard now. His ceremonial armor was covered in simulated dirt and damage. His energy levels were dropping. He'd burned through stamina chasing Hyun through the jungle. At minute 47, Hyun made his final move. He positioned himself on high ground near the arena edge. When Velcros climbed up to reach him, Hyun rolled aside and fired his remaining shots at the ground beneath Velcros's feet. The simulation registered an unstable surface. Velcros stumbled backward toward the arena boundary. One more step, and he'd be outside the combat zone. An automatic loss. Velcros's eyes widened. He tried to lunge forward, grab Hyun, take him down together. But he was off balance, exhausted. His grab missed by inches. He fell backward across the boundary line. The simulation froze. Silence filled the arena, absolute and total. Then the referee's voice, "Winner, Hyun of Earth." The arena exploded. Not with cheers, with shock, confusion, anger. The crowd couldn't process what they'd just witnessed. A human, small and weak by galactic standards, had defeated a Draconid warrior. Hyun stood on that high ground, breathing hard, every muscle shaking. He'd won. Against impossible odds, he'd actually won. Commander Threxus's voice cut through the noise, cold and sharp. Dishonorable? He fought without honor like a coward. Other Draconids took up the cry. Dishonorable! Coward! Cheater! The referee tried to restore order. The match followed all standard protocols. Then the protocols are insufficient, Threxis said. She turned to face the arena, her voice amplified. The Draconid Empire issues a formal challenge. Unit versus unit. Let us see if human tactics work when facing true warriors, not a single student. 1 week from today, squad combat. If the humans refuse, they acknowledge their victory here was meaningless. The crowd murmured. This had just become much bigger than a student argument. Hyun looked at the Draconid commander. He should have felt afraid. Instead, he felt something cold and hard settle in his chest. "We accept," he said clearly. Threxis smiled, showing all her teeth. "Excellent. Now your species will learn what real combat means." Hyun walked out of the arena alone, knowing he'd just started something that might destroy every human's reputation in galactic space. But he couldn't back down now. They'd made sure of that. Yuna arrived 2 days after the challenge was issued. Hyun met her at the station dock and she hugged him hard enough to hurt. "You idiot," she said, but she was smiling. "You beautiful, brave idiot." Yuna was 24, 2 years older than Hyun. They'd grown up together on Earth, practically siblings. She was taller than him, with sharp eyes and an intensity that made people nervous. She'd spent the last 3 years researching military history across dozens of cultures, writing her dissertation on warfare evolution. "I didn't mean for it to get this big," Hyun said as they walked through the station corridors. "Yes, you did," Yuna said. "Maybe not consciously, but you knew what would happen when you challenged that Draconid. You knew they couldn't let it stand, and now here we are." "Here we are," Hyun agreed quietly. The academy had provided a training room for the human team. It wasn't much, just a converted storage space with basic equipment. When Hyun and Yuna entered, 4 other humans were waiting. They looked terrified. Minho was a medical student, slim and nervous. Jisoo studied xenobiology, barely 20 years old. Dai was an engineering major like Hyun, stocky and quiet. Sumi was the oldest at 26, a chemistry researcher with steady hands but frightened eyes. "This is everyone?" Yuna asked. "Every human student who volunteered," Hyun said. "Most of the others left the station after my match, afraid of getting challenged themselves." Yuna looked at the 5 people before her. None of them were soldiers. None of them had military training. They were students, scientists, engineers, soft targets for a species that lived and breathed combat. "Okay," she said. "Let me see what we're working with. Hyun, tell me exactly what happened in your match." For the next hour, Hyun described every detail. Yuna listened without interrupting, her mind processing everything. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "You won because you didn't fight their fight," she finally said. "Velcros expected a battle. You gave him a hunt where he was the prey. That's good. That's instinct. But instinct won't be enough against a trained squad." "What do we do?" Minho asked, his voice shaking slightly. Yuna pulled up a holographic display. She'd loaded it with historical data files, videos, tactical maps from Earth. "We do what humans have always done. We adapt and we survive. Let me show you something." She played footage from various Earth wars, ancient battles, modern conflicts, everything in between. For the last 10,000 years, humans have been fighting each other constantly. We've developed every type of warfare imaginable. The Draconids, they've had peace for 3 centuries, broken only by brief honor duels with other warrior species. They know how to fight, but they don't know how to wage war. "What's the difference?" Jisoo asked. "Fighting is about individual strength and courage," Yuna explained. "War is about making your opponent fight on your terms, not theirs. It's about using every advantage, every trick, every psychological edge. It's about winning, not about honor." She pulled up a new display. "The Draconids will send a squad of 6. They'll be armored, armed, and trained. They'll work as a unit. They'll expect us to either mass together for a desperate defense or try to match their tactical formation. And we won't? Day asked. We won't, Yuna confirmed. She started drawing on the holographic map. We're going to use asymmetric warfare. Never engage directly. Never give them the fight they want. We'll use ambush tactics, psychological operations, environmental manipulation. We'll turn the entire arena into a weapon. For the next 5 days, Yuna trained them relentlessly. She taught them how to move quietly, how to set traps, how to create diversions. She taught them that running wasn't cowardice, it was tactics. She taught them that fairness was a luxury they couldn't afford. The Draconids think honor matters more than victory, she told them. They're wrong. Dead honorable warriors are still dead. We're going to be alive dishonorable winners. She split them into 3 pairs. Hyun and Minho would be the strikers, fast attacks from unexpected angles. Jisoo and Dae would handle environmental manipulation and traps. Yuna and Sumi would coordinate and provide mobile support. We never group together, Yuna emphasized. If we mass up, they can hit us all at once. We stay spread, stay mobile, stay unpredictable. Every time they think they know where we are, we're somewhere else. The Academy officials tried to cancel the match. The human ambassador filed formal complaints. The Draconid Empire responded by inviting observers from every major species. They were turning this into propaganda, proof of their superiority. On the 6th day, Yuna gathered her team. They all looked exhausted, bruised from training, but something had changed in their eyes. They weren't terrified anymore. They were focused. Tomorrow, the galaxy is going to watch us, Yuna said. They expect us to lose. The Draconids expect an easy victory. Every species out there thinks humans are weak, so let's show them what we really are. What are we? Minho asked. Yuna smiled, cold and sharp. Survivors. We're the species that crawled out of caves and conquered a planet. We fought ice ages, plagues, each other, and we're still here. We don't quit. We don't break. And we definitely don't lose to a species that thinks war is about looking impressive. That night, Hyun couldn't sleep. He reviewed their plans, their tactics, their backup strategies. Everything depended on perfect execution. One mistake, and they'd all go down. His communication device buzzed. A message from Commander Threxus appeared. It was a video. She stood in a training room surrounded by 6 Draconid soldiers in full combat armor. They moved like killing machines, perfectly synchronized. This is what you face tomorrow, human, Threxus's recorded voice said. These are Draconid Assault Squad 7, elite warriors, champions. They have agreed to be gentle with you, to make your defeat quick. But understand this, after tomorrow, no human will ever question our superiority again. You will be the lesson that teaches your species humility. The message ended. Hyun stared at the screen for a long moment. Then he forwarded it to Yuna. Her reply came seconds later. Good. Let them be confident. Confident enemies make mistakes. Hyun finally managed to sleep, though his dreams were full of combat and screaming crowds. When he woke, it was the day of the battle. The day that would determine whether humans earned respect or lived forever as the galaxy's weaklings. Yuna gathered them one last time before they entered the prep room. She looked at each of them, meeting their eyes. No matter what happens today, she said quietly, you've already proven something. You showed up, you trained, you didn't run. That takes more courage than any Draconid will ever understand. Now let's go show them what human warfare really looks like. They walked toward the arena together, 6 humans against 6 Draconid elites. The whole galaxy was watching. And Yuna was ready to teach them all a lesson they would never forget. The observation decks were filled beyond capacity. Representatives from 37 species watched screens throughout the station. The Draconid Empire had broadcast this match across their entire territory. They wanted the galaxy to witness human submission. The arena had been expanded to 5 times its normal size. The simulation generated an entire abandoned city, complete with buildings, streets, underground passages, and crumbling infrastructure. It was complex terrain, meant to showcase military tactics rather than simple dueling. Yuna stood with her team in the prep room. Through the walls, they could hear the crowd roaring. The Draconids had turned this into a spectacle, complete with commentary and dramatic announcements. "Remember the plan," Yuna said calmly. "We split the moment we enter. Jisoo and Dae, you have 12 minutes to set your first trap line. Hyun and Minho, you're ghosts until I give the signal. Sumi and I will draw their attention initially. Trust your training. Trust each other." The door opened. An official gestured them forward. "It's time." They entered the arena. The simulated city sprawled before them, abandoned buildings reaching toward a fake sky. Rubble lined the streets. Broken windows gaped like empty eyes. The simulation was incredibly detailed, right down to the smell of rust and decay. Across the arena floor, the Draconid squad emerged from the opposite entrance. Assault Squad 7 moved in perfect formation, their armor gleaming. They looked like they'd stepped out of a propaganda poster. Confident, powerful, inevitable. Commander Threxus's voice boomed over the speakers. "Let this battle demonstrate the natural order. Strength prevails. Honor conquers. The Draconid Empire has never lost to inferior species." The referee's countdown began. "Combat starts in 30 seconds. Yuna tapped her communicator 3 times. "Go signal." Her team scattered like smoke, disappearing into the ruins before the Draconids could even process what happened. The countdown hit 0. Assault Squad 7 advanced in textbook formation. 2 in front, 2 in middle, 2 covering the rear. They moved down the main street, weapons ready, scanning for targets. Their thermal sensors swept the ruins, looking for heat signatures. They found nothing. The humans had already gone cold, using thermal blankets to mask their signatures. It was a trick from guerrilla warfare, simple but effective. 12 minutes passed. The Draconid squad moved deeper into the city, growing confused. Where were the humans? Why hadn't they encountered anyone? Then the first trap triggered. Jisoo had rigged a building's support beam with simulation explosives. When the Draconids passed beneath, she detonated it remotely. Rubble rained down on the squad. Their armor protected them, but it broke their formation. They scattered, seeking cover. That's when Hyun struck. 3 shots from an elevated position, hitting one Draconid's shoulder joint. The warrior spun, returning fire, but Hyun was already gone, sliding down a drainage pipe into the underground passages. The Draconids regrouped, angrier now. Their leader barked orders. They split into 2 groups of 3, trying to cover more ground. Yuna smiled from her hidden position. They'd just made their first major mistake. For the next hour, the battle became a nightmare for the Draconids. Every street held potential ambushes. Every building could hide enemies. Every shadow might contain danger. The humans attacked in waves, never more than a few shots, then vanished before the Draconids could respond effectively. Minho dropped smoke grenades from a rooftop, blinding the squad's sensors. While they stumbled through the smoke, Dae triggered a second trap, collapsing a street beneath them. 2 Draconids fell into a simulated sewer system, temporarily separated from their squad. Yuna hit them there, her and Sumi firing from multiple angles to create the illusion of a larger force. The 2 Draconids tried to fight back, but in the confined space, their superior strength meant nothing. Simulated wounds accumulated. Their armor registered critical damage. Both went offline, eliminated from the match. 4 Draconids remained. They were furious now, abandoning tactical formation in favor of aggressive pursuit. They split up further, each pair trying to hunt down the humans who kept slipping away. Another mistake. Yuna had them exactly where she wanted them. Hyun and Minho led one pair into an abandoned building. The Draconids followed, confident they finally had prey cornered. Inside, they found tripwires, false walls, corridors that led nowhere. By the time they realized it was a maze, Jisoo had sealed the exits. They were trapped, wasting precious time trying to find a way out. The other pair pursued Yuna herself. She ran through the streets, visible and vulnerable, drawing them forward. They thought they had her. They raised their weapons, ready for an easy kill. Then Sumi appeared on a rooftop with a heavy simulation weapon they'd found cached in the arena. She fired a single shot, a simulated artillery round that hit the street between the two draconids. The blast threw them backward, armor cracked, systems failing. One went offline immediately. The other stumbled, damaged but still active. Yuna circled back and finished him with 3 precise shots to weakened armor joints. He collapsed, eliminated. 2 draconids left, trapped in the building. The crowd had gone silent. This wasn't supposed to happen. The humans weren't supposed to be winning. Yuna's team regrouped outside the building. They'd taken no casualties. 0. The draconids had lost 4 warriors without inflicting a single serious hit. "We could wait them out," Minho said, breathing hard. "No," Yuna replied. "We end this decisively." She had Day pump smoke into the building's ventilation. As the 2 draconids stumbled out, coughing and half-blind, all 6 humans were waiting. They fired in perfect coordination, targeting weak points in the armor. The draconids tried to fight back, but they were disoriented, damaged, and outnumbered in positioning if not strength. It took 30 seconds. Both draconids went down, their armor systems registering fatal damage. The simulation ended. Silence filled the arena, absolute and crushing. "Winner, human team," the referee announced, his voice shocked. The observation decks erupted, not with cheers or boos, but with chaos. Arguments broke out between species. Draconids roared denials. Other aliens demanded to see replays. Everyone had opinions, and none of them could process what they'd just witnessed. Assault Squad 7 elite Draconid warriors had been completely defeated, and the human team had taken 0 casualties. Commander Threxis stood in the command observation booth, her face unreadable. Around her, Draconid military officials argued loudly about tactics, honor, and whether the match should be voided. Yuna walked to the center of the arena. Cameras focused on her. Millions of beings across dozens of worlds watched her stand there, calm and collected, not even breathing hard. "We used no illegal tactics," she said clearly. "We followed every rule. We won. That's what war is. Not honor, not glory, just winning." A Draconid official activated his communicator, shouting over the noise. "This match proves nothing. You fought dishonorably like cowards." Yuna looked directly at the camera. "Then challenge us again. Send more squads. Send your best. We'll be here." But she knew they wouldn't, because the real battle hadn't been in the arena. It had been for reputation, for perception, for the galaxy's view of humanity. And that battle, the one that really mattered, was about to be decided by what happened next. Yuna had one more move to make, the final strike, and this one would be without mercy. Commander Threxis moved fast. Within 2 hours of the match, the Draconid Empire issued formal requests to every major news network and academic institution. They wanted the simulation footage sealed, classified, removed from public access. They cited diplomatic protocols, cultural sensitivity, and potential security concerns. Yuna had expected this. She'd been counting on it. While the Draconids were filing their requests through official channels, Yuna was uploading the complete match footage to every open network in galactic space. Public forums, academic databases, entertainment channels, military analysis sites, everywhere. She included multiple camera angles, full tactical readouts, communication logs, everything. By the time the Draconid Empire realized what was happening, 17 billion beings had already downloaded the footage. It was too late to contain, but Yuna wasn't done. Not even close. She scheduled a press conference for the following morning. The Academy tried to stop her, afraid of diplomatic incidents. She held it anyway, in a public square where no one could legally remove her. Cameras from every major species pointed at her face. Yuna stood at a simple podium, wearing a plain uniform. No decorations, no ceremony. Behind her stood Hyun and the rest of her team, quiet and dignified. They looked like what they were, students who'd been forced to fight. The crowd of reporters pressed forward, shouting questions. Yuna waited until they quieted. When she spoke, her voice was calm, clear, and cold as vacuum. Yesterday, the Draconid Empire tried to teach humanity a lesson about our place in galactic society, she began. They wanted to demonstrate that humans are weak, inferior, prey animals who exist only because stronger species allow it. They wanted to prove this through combat, using their elite Assault Squad 7 against 6 human students. None of us are soldiers. We're scholars, engineers, scientists, average humans. She paused, letting that sink in. We won, decisively. 0 casualties on our side, total defeat on theirs. Now the Draconid Empire wants that footage hidden. They want this battle forgotten. They're calling our tactics dishonorable. A Draconid reporter stood up, scales bristling. You fought like cowards. You refused direct combat. You used tricks and deception instead of facing your enemies with courage. Yuna looked at him. Yes, we did. And we won. That's the point. She pulled up a holographic display behind her. Historical data from Earth began scrolling past. Let me tell you about human warfare. For 10,000 years, we fought each other constantly. Hundreds of thousands of wars. Millions of battles. We developed every form of combat imaginable. Guerrilla warfare, psychological operations, asymmetric tactics, total war, limited war, conventional warfare, unconventional warfare. We had to, because we were fighting ourselves, and we're very good at adaptation. The display showed battle footage from Earth history, ancient sieges, medieval cavalry charges, trench warfare, urban combat, everything. We learned that honor doesn't matter when you're dead. We learned that the most dangerous animal isn't the strongest. It's the one that refuses to die, that adapts to everything you throw at it. More data appeared, this time comparing human warfare evolution to other species. The Draconid Empire has been at peace for 300 years. When they do fight, it's ceremonial duels governed by strict honor codes. The Thorian Collective fights in organized fleet battles with predictable tactics. The Virex Union uses overwhelming force in frontal assaults. She let the comparison sit for a moment. And then there's humanity. We spent millennia in a constant state of warfare. We fought in every terrain type, every climate, every condition. We developed weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We had to develop peace treaties because we were too good at killing each other. A Kresh reporter clicked its mandibles nervously. Are you threatening other species? No, Yuna said firmly. I'm stating facts. Humanity doesn't want war. We've seen enough of it. We came to galactic space hoping for peace, for cooperation. But we will not accept being treated as inferior because we choose peace over violence. She pulled up footage from her team's battle. The Draconids called us cowards for using ambush tactics and environmental manipulation. Let me explain what we actually did. We studied their training, identified their expectations, and designed a strategy that negated every advantage they had. We turned their strengths into weaknesses. That's not cowardice. That's warfare. Commander Threxus's voice came over the communication channel, transmitted to all the press. You dare lecture the Draconid Empire about combat? We are a warrior species with a legacy spanning millennia. Yuna's response was sharp as a blade. You're a species that hasn't fought a real war in 3 centuries. You practice dueling and call it military preparedness. You have a warrior culture built on ceremony and honor codes. That's fine for peacetime. But in real conflict, that makes you predictable, rigid, vulnerable. The crowd erupted with questions and arguments. Yuna waited them out. When silence fell again, she continued. Here's what really happened yesterday. 6 human students used Earth's accumulated warfare knowledge to defeat elite alien warriors. We didn't do this because we're naturally superior. We did it because we've had to learn every hard lesson about combat over thousands of years. We know what works, and we're not afraid to use it. She looked directly at the Draconid communication feed. Commander Threxus, you wanted this battle. You wanted to humiliate humanity publicly. Instead, you humiliated yourselves. And now you want to hide the evidence. That's not strength, that's embarrassment. Threxus's voice crackled with rage. The Draconid Empire will not tolerate these insults. We demand a rematch, true combat, not simulations. We will— No, Yuna interrupted. We decline. Stunned silence. No one had expected that. You heard me, Yuna continued. We decline any further challenges, not because we're afraid, because you're not worth the time or resources. You've already lost the only battle that matters. And what battle is that? Threxus demanded. Relevance, Yuna said simply. After yesterday, every species in the galaxy knows that human tactics can defeat Draconid warriors. Every military analyst is studying what we did. Every species is re-evaluating the Draconid Empire's actual combat capabilities versus their reputation. You've spent centuries building an image of invincibility. We destroyed it in 90 minutes. She gestured to her team behind her. These students, using basic equipment and 1 week of training, completely defeated your elite squad. What does that say about the rest of your military? About your tactics? About your readiness for actual conflict? The crowd was silent now. Yuna's words were spreading across communication networks, reaching every corner of galactic civilization. Let me be clear about humanity's position, Yuna said. We don't want to be warriors. We don't want to dominate other species. We came to the galaxy seeking knowledge, cooperation, and peace. But we will not be bullied. We will not be treated as inferior. And we absolutely will not accept being threatened or challenged by species who mistake ceremony for competence. She pulled up one final display. It showed human casualty figures from Earth's various wars. Hundreds of millions of dead across centuries. This is why we know about warfare. This is what we survived. Every war taught us new lessons. Every conflict made us better at staying alive. We don't celebrate this. We're not proud of our violent history, but we won't forget it either, because forgetting gets you killed. An ambassador from a neutral species, a peaceful Delphian, asked softly, "What do you want humanity's relationship with other species to be?" Yuna's expression softened slightly. Equal partnership, mutual respect. We have technology to share, knowledge to contribute. We don't need to be feared. But we won't be dismissed either. We're asking for the same thing every species wants. To be treated according to our capabilities, not underestimated because we're newcomers. She looked around at all the cameras, all the representatives. Every species here has strengths. The Kresh have incredible engineering. The Delphians understand social dynamics better than anyone. The Thorians have massive industrial capacity. The Draconids have individual physical power. And humans? Humans have adaptability. We survive. We learn. We overcome. Commander Threxus tried one last time. The Draconid Empire will not forget this insult. You'll do nothing, Yuna said, her voice cold again, because challenging us again means risking another public defeat, and you can't afford that. Your entire culture is built on warrior pride. Another loss to weak humans would be devastating, so you'll make threats, file complaints, and eventually pretend this never happened. She stepped back from the podium. This press conference is over. The footage remains public. Anyone wanting to study human tactical doctrine is welcome to analyze what we did. We're not hiding our methods. We're not ashamed of our victory. Thank you. As Yuna left the platform, chaos erupted behind her. Reporters swarmed. Ambassadors shouted. Communication channels lit up with heated debates. Hyun walked beside his cousin through the crowd. You just made enemies of the entire Draconid Empire. No, Yuna corrected. I just made them irrelevant. That's worse. Over the following weeks, the galaxy changed. The footage of the battle was analyzed by every military academy in civilized space. New courses appeared: asymmetric warfare, the human approach, psychological combat tactics, environmental manipulation in modern warfare. The Draconid Empire went quiet. They issued no more challenges. They filed no more complaints. They simply withdrew from public debate, their reputation shattered. Other species began approaching humanity differently. Not with fear exactly, but with a new kind of respect. The weak newcomers had become something else, survivors who knew how to win. Hyun returned to his engineering classes. His professors treated him normally, though other students gave him space. He didn't mind. He'd proven what he needed to prove. Yuna finished her dissertation, which became the most downloaded military history paper in galactic academic history. She was offered consulting positions by 17 different species military departments. One day, 6 months after the battle, a young alien student approached Yuna in the academy library. It was a small, furry Kethan with nervous eyes. "Professor Yuna," the student said quietly, "can I ask you something?" "I'm not a professor," Yuna said, but she smiled. "But yes, ask. Why are humans so good at war?" Yuna considered the question carefully. She thought about Earth, about humanity's bloody history, about all the lessons learned through centuries of conflict. "Because we've always been too stubborn to accept extinction," she finally answered. "Every time something tried to end us, whether it was ice ages, diseases, or each other, we learned from it. We adapted, we survived. That's not a warrior culture. That's a survival imperative. We don't fight because we love it. We fight because we refuse to die." The student thought about this, then nodded slowly. "Thank you, Professor." As the student left, Yuna returned to her work. Outside the library windows, the vast station rotated against the stars. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was still adjusting to humanity's presence. They'd learned an important lesson: never mistake kindness for weakness. And never, ever underestimate the species that crawled out of caves and conquered a planet through sheer refusal to quit. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not through strength or honor, but through adaptability and the absolute determination to survive. And that, Yuna thought with a small smile, was more powerful than any warrior tradition could ever be.